All right, guys, Joseph here, and today I want to talk to you about something that's very important if you're having your fleet co-hosted or anybody but you is working on your fleet, and that is trip reconciliation. What does it mean? Well, it means reconciling what you got paid and the records that Turo has of the trips with how much the vehicle was actually moved to make sure that your cars were not on trips that were not authorized, that you're getting paid for every single mile that you're putting on, because in this business we are selling miles among other things, but mostly miles and risk. And if you're losing account of your miles, you're losing money. You don't see that money being lost in real time. You're losing money in the value of the vehicle due to depreciation and the risk of having it on the road and the wear and tear in consumables as well. So here's what we do. We have a whole standard operating procedure. I have my staff. I own other companies and I have staff, and they basically have maintained this standard operating procedure for doing this, but I'm just going to walk you through it. Basically, it involves dumping the GPS records and then checking to make sure that the records of trips and payment match where the vehicle was moved. So what we do is we take our GPS software, we use Bouncy, and this is just an example with a few of our cars. We use Bouncy and we check it, and we take every day's mileage and we write it down. That's the first thing. The second thing, I'm going to take a different month here, is we categorize. So green is for the car was on a trip. It makes sense that it was moving. So how do we figure out when the car was on a trip? We go, some of our hosts give us trip records. Otherwise, you can go on Turo cohost and look back in past trips. So all these greens were the car was on a trip, we're getting paid for those miles. The yellows are the car's moving, but there's no trip. Was this someone going to the mechanic, someone going for something else to show the car to somebody? Those we have to question our operators about what happened. If we see mileage, but we do not have a trip. The reds are for when the car's in the shop, which happens sometimes, and that really, that'll be shop mileage or no mileage. And then the orange is for potential overage. We see blocks like anything really over 100 miles, if your overage threshold is 100 miles, should get an orange call out. And then you can go back and say, all right, well, on a one-day trip, like this trip here, which is separate from this trip, that 212 miles is likely an overage. So we need to make sure that we see that got paid out. If it didn't get paid out, we are owed some by our co-host. And a common thing that co-hosts do is they forget to look at the mileage when they check the vehicle back in, so you do not get paid for overage that you're entitled to. And that's losing a lot of money. So you want to look into that. In other cases where you've got like a 3-day trip, this car actually has the limit set to 200 miles. If you sum these up, yes, they're over 200 miles a day on 3 days, but they're over by 11 miles. It might not have been billed. It might not be important, and it's probably on this car, 60 cents or 40 cents a mile, as opposed to on some nice newer cars, you might be $1.50, $2. You might be on an exotic, you might be more. You might be way more. So that's essentially the procedure. It's important to tie out where your vehicles are going, especially when they're not in your care. These are expensive assets. Even if you finance them or lease them, you are still responsible for these assets. And it's important to know exactly, that you're getting paid on all of it. Again, I'm Joseph. I have some cars co-hosted. I also operated a business myself for a couple of years doing this. Happy to answer any questions. Just DM me or leave your comments in the comments section. Ciao.